I feel so honored to be up here tonight to recognize such a wonderful person, colleague, and mentor. The HFTP website defines qualifications for the HFTP Paragon Award as an individual that has made a significant contribution to both HFTP and the hospitality industry. And Daniel has done both in amazing ways. Phil Newman says in his nomination letter for Daniel that Daniel was at the forefront of anything HFTP has done for in the last decade. And I couldn't agree more, and I was lucky enough to have a very close-up view of his contributions. My personal experience with Daniel started during Leadership Academy over 20 years ago. Even at Daniel's first leadership, you could see the passion and thoughtfulness displayed. One of the topics came up during the leadership was the chapter requirement, and both Daniel and I were concerned with this path, and most vocal as you can imagine. We were both asked by Wendy Zerstad then to be part of the task force that was formed from those concerns, and this is where our relationship really developed. Dan actually attended our first task force meeting with every single member of HFTP pinned on a map, so that we would have a better understanding when we started our discussion. Now, he took the time to pin 3,500 names on a map. My first thought was, this guy needs a life. I came to learn that was just who Daniel was. This wasn't something that he was asked to do, but it was his ever-active imagination and thoughts just determined that it was required in order to get where we needed to go. Wendy Zerstad always referred to us as her lost boys, and she said that she knew back then that we would both become leaders at the global level. I guess she was right. Dan has become one of my best friends, and we've helped each other through many different obstacles, both professionally and personally. I'm sorry that Daniel's wife, Michelle, isn't here tonight, but I want to thank her for sharing her husband with us. I know it hasn't always been easy for him to be away, but she's always been his biggest supporter. When I look back at my relationship with Daniel, it is interesting what stood out. It wasn't the many speaking sessions he did, the task forces, the board, or even when he was president. The main thing was how much fun Daniel made anything he was involved in. One of the reasons I love HFTP so much is because of Daniel's sense of humor. No matter what issue came up, what tough decision had to be made, Daniel always provided levity that would help relax everyone and put people at ease. He was willing to dress up like a pirate at leadership to advertise a Treasure Coast Regional, which none of us knew until later at the conference that's what that was for, and therefore we thought he was a little off. It was just one example. Another example that some of his speaking sessions, Daniel would ask numerous people, 20, 30 people, to just write a word on a slip just before he started speaking. And then he would use each word during the session. This made each of those members feel part of the session and made for quite a few laughs during and after. Many of you have seen Daniel is a cat lover from the last article on HFTP, just shared about him in the last couple weeks. This is probably an understatement, big time. I had the special privilege one night to go out with Daniel when he went to feed the feral cats in the area. There were many stops. Michelle and Daniel are so dedicated to these cats and even have taken some of them when they needed additional help, they take them in. The dedication that they both show these cats is the same dedication Daniel has in HFTP. It is often mentioned how tough it is for us at HFTP moving in the same direction, sometimes referred to as like herding cats. So now we understand a little bit more why Daniel has done such an amazing job with all of us at HFTP. He's had a lot of practice. He has been a great mentor to so many of our current and past leaders of our association and continues to participate on the global committees. At the session yesterday, Kenyon Silo talked about how you create ripples when you choose to help others. I immediately imagine the size of the ripples created by Daniel's contribution to HFTP in the industry. We have all been affected by these ripples, even if you don't know it. Daniel, you have been such an incredible and significant part of my journey with HFTP. Again, I am so honored to present you with the 2022 HFTP Paragon Award for your significant contribution to HFTP and the hospitality industry. Please come up and accept this award, my friend, and welcome to the club.
Put it over there. I'll end up dropping it, and that'll be really good. The first thing I want to do is I want to ask everyone that's already a Paragon Award to stand. Paragon, oh yeah, I'm really that nervous. Paragon Award winner, please stand up for me. Thank you. The reason I asked them to do that is because every one of those ones that stand and those that have come before me have been an inspiration to me. I view them as icons in this industry. And honestly, I'm not sure what I did to deserve to be on that list with those individuals. They've changed us in ways and changed me personally in ways that I just can't imagine. To be able to do this is very humbling. To receive this from my peers is humbling. And if I wanted to go through a list of everyone to thank, I probably would be here for way too long for the time that they've allotted me. So I apologize to anyone that I don't get to mention. But I have to start, Tom talked about Michelle, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but who's been with me for 2/3 of my hospitality career and my entire HFTP career. And she's put up with me coming back from task force and things with Tom, of course, and talk about geographical boundaries and membership types and everything. And she would sit there and listen and ask questions, but I knew in the back of her mind she's saying to herself, just shut up and go clean the litter boxes already. I don't really care about this. But I appreciate the support that she's given me to be able to do all of these things. When I reflected on it, I also thought about my parents. I got to look at how my mother worked and think about how she affected my career. The thing that my mother always taught me is don't ever underestimate your value. Don't let anyone ever underestimate your value. And I had the chance to work with her at Sendon at one point. She was up as an exec assistant and up with a bunch of the bigwigs, and I was a little cubicle guy. And people would come by to give me work, and they'd see my name on the cubicle, and they go, "Oh, are you Pam Conti's son?" And I go, "Yes." And they had this slight look of fear on their face. And I understood that because I was her son, so I was afraid of her myself. But what I began to realize is that the thing that my mother did, no matter what job she was doing, she did it extremely hardworking, but she never let anyone treat her in a disrespectful way. She taught me that you should value whatever you're doing and do it properly, and don't let anyone make you feel like you shouldn't have done it and that you're less than anyone else. So I thank her for instilling that in me. The other person I need to thank is my father, who unfortunately I lost in December of 2020. To think about him not being able to be here is very difficult. We talk about work-life balance all the time now. My dad did that my entire life. I never can remember a time when he was too busy to be with me, to talk to me, to help me, to answer questions I had. And he exposed me to so many things. We'd go to nice restaurants every once in a while in New York City. And the rule that he had was, I don't care what you order, you just have to eat it. So being the brat that I am, I'd get the menu and I'd look down the right side of the page. What's on the right side of the page? A bunch of numbers. I could count really well. I would choose the highest number, and that's what I ordered. I ate a lot of things that I choked down that I wasn't really sure what they were, but I was going to make sure I followed the rule and ate it all. But what he taught me was to go outside of my comfort zone, to experience things that maybe I wasn't used to doing. And he made me feel that no matter what situation I was in, that I belong there. And I've taken that into the club world where I have billionaires and multimillionaires walk into my office and heads of major corporations, and I never felt like I didn't belong talking to them. And that really goes to something that my dad instilled in me. You know, when I think about HFTP and some of the things Tom talked about and what maybe some talents that God's given me and blessed me with, I don't know how to thank everyone that's affected me. I look around the room and there's people that have just touched my heart and changed my career. Tom talked about those ripples. There's a gentleman named Preston Mack who's now a professional photographer that none of you probably know, who is a buddy of mine in high school who said, Embassy Suites is looking for another front desk clerk. You should apply. I want you to come work with me. So that was my first foray into hospitality. I got the job. I loved it so much. I'm like, wow, this is a really cool industry. That little ripple, that little thing that he did for me started this whole progression that I've been on. I moved to Florida. I started working at a club. My very first boss, Mark Engebretson, told me I needed to join this association, HFTP. And I'm like, all right, you're telling me to do it, I'll do it. I joined the Treasure Coast chapter. I met Jill Burnett. There's Jill. Jill's been on the Treasure Coast board, I don't know, like 10,000 years at this point, it feels like. She got me to go to a leadership. What was the leadership? The one Tom talked about, where Wendy's Lost Boys met up and wreaked havoc for the rest of their lives, it feels like. Those little things have meant so much. Where's Anna McFarland? There. Anna, on this very evening, called me out and told me I needed to run for the board. I don't know why she chose to do that. She probably regrets that she did that. But that inspiration and build-up that people have given me, it's just too numerous to mention. I got to serve on the executive committee with wonderful people, but the one that stands out that had affected me the most when I was president is a gentleman named Lyle Worthington, who a bunch of you know. Lyle just has things pour out of his brain nonstop, and he'd come to me and said, okay, this is what we're going to do when you're president. We need to work on this, 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 and this. And then he said, oh, Danny thought about all these great things. I didn't think about any of those things. They all came from him. But he handed them to me to try to help move us forward. And then there's just the people that have been there to keep me on this straight path and to make me feel like maybe I have a little bit of worth. Where's Kalua? There she is. And Kelly Brennan right there. Separately, both of them have told me that the first time they met me, they really didn't like me at all. They thought I was kind of arrogant and kind of a jerk. Strangely enough, they're two very good friends of mine still, because I think both of them saw something in me that it was just the fear that I had and that insecurity that I was covering up by kind of going outside too much. I think about all those people that have affected me. Jonathan, who's our MC, who I've bounced ideas off of, everyone that's given back to me to help me get here. And the reality is, and I've said this before, you don't get here by yourself. And again, I'm not really sure why I'm here. We have staff that helps everybody that's ever done anything here. Thomas, Steven's over there, Lynette, Brian, Frank, have been with me through my whole HFTP career, and the staff of HFTP makes all of us better and helps all of us that go to do anything to help this industry. They're the ones that help us accomplish it. I can't stress how much it means to me to receive this tonight. It's recognition from my peers for something that I just felt like all I was doing was my job. I feel like all I did was try to show care and concern for others. I tried to think about the lessons my father and my mother taught me, that if you agree to do something, you better do it right and you better do it all the way, hence the 3,000 and such pins in the map. That your goal is to share what you know with others to help them be more successful at their job or more successful in their life because so many people have given it to me, and I just felt like trying to pay it forward. And most importantly, that when we succeed, it's not because of anything that we did. This award is not because of anything special that I did. It's because of the people around me who have put me in the opportunity and given me the opportunity to excel, to support me, to help me. So I appreciate everyone in this room. I appreciate everyone that's touched me during this journey. But most of all, I want everyone to remember that I am still just that guy with the pirate hat who's trying to fake it till he makes it. And maybe tonight I can feel like I made it. So thank you very much.